The point is about this, before that would happen, there'd have to be the legislation which would frame how the voice would make representations to government. Then someone's got to take issue with that and win a court case or win an appeal and take it to the High Court. And all of that, of course, it could possibly happen. Every law is going to be tested through the courts eventually. But the thing I keep coming back to is, in the end, all the government is obliged to do is listen. So it can never overturn a decision. It can just say that the government hasn't listened properly and they must listen again. There's never an onus on the government to change the decision. I'll just put up the wording here from the constitutional amendment that we're all voting on, and it says very clear there, the voice may make representations. So the sort of scenario you're portraying is just that might delay things, if possible, to make sure the government proves it has actually listened to those representations.
I'm so glad you raised this, Chris, because it points out two really important things. First, that the voice that's proposed may make representations. They're not forced to. They might decide not to. On that point, you are absolutely right. They may decide that on a particular environmental or development decision, they don't have an interest and they don't want to talk about it. Fine, not an issue. They may also decide that they do want to have a say on things well beyond what was contemplated. For instance, they may want to have a say on matters of defence. They may want to have a say on matters relating to the economy. They may want to have a say on things that go well beyond what we might think of as narrowly Indigenous issues. But the more concerning thing about the wording that you've just popped up on the screen, I believe, is that at no point are the words advisory only or something like that used.
Yeah, well,
this body is actually not clearly advisory,
it is those
well
words
within the scope of a High Court to take it another way.
Well, I've been through that with constitutional experts, and they chose may make representations because it's less onerous than advisory. People think advisory, experts say advisory might suggest that the government must do it or take heed of it, whereas make representations makes it clear that the government has no obligation to do what the voice says. In fact, here's the former Chief Justice of the New South Wales Supreme Court, Tom Bathurst, on that very point.
This body, which is, for want of a better word, enshrined in the Constitution, giving it the power to make representations which, as far as Parliament's concerned, can be accepted, rejected or ignored.
Accepted, rejected or ignored. Very quickly, because we've got 30 seconds to go. Sorry, Amanda.
Really important. The right to make representations is a different question entirely to the question of whether they must be listened to. You're right on whether they may make them, you're wrong on whether or not they must be listened to. The wording does not clarify with any kind of specificity whether or not they must be taken into account. So the default administrative law position is you must take into account all relevant considerations. Nothing that's been said by the experts you've cited gets around that.
Thanks for joining us, Amanda. Amanda Stoker there. Catch her on Sunday night. I go with Tom Bathurst there. It says the government can ignore any representations.